where we are going. Yeah, mindset's so important in the journey that I've been on. It's like, Buddhism's contemplate their own death frequently, and I think you should be able to do that. And as yourself there, going back to school, it's like there is a death in there. There's an ego death in that journey, and it's really fucking cool to do that. And only growth oriented people will understand that.
Yeah, for sure.
And as you just realize, I don't do intros properly, so this where people just jump into our conversation. But for everyone, welcome back to the Sound Important podcast. Today I'm with an old friend of mine, an old teammate, Dave Birtwistle. So how you doing, Dave?
Hey mate, yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to chat, although I'm a little bit nervous, I'll be honest.
Yeah, don't be nervous, man. What's really interesting is I always envisage people, how you listen to podcasts, I'll listen to podcasts, and then sometimes you just get trapped in a conversation that people are having, just talking about normal stuff, and you're just like, this is a really good place to sit, and I'll just stay here for a little while. Or you get out and you're like, I'm gonna fucking take on the world. I've just binged 2 hours of Ed Milet, and I'm gonna go to a monastery and stuff, or you listen to Joe Rogan and contemplate doing psychedelics. But it's all the
bandwidth, isn't it? That's the range that you can get everything from a podcast, which is great. And I'll dip my toes in a variety of different ones depending on the mindset, like you've just mentioned. Yeah. What do you want for the people listening to this podcast? What do you want them to get out of it in terms of that psychological state when they finish?
Well, I think, do you know what it is, right? For you and I, we started. You came from. I remember you came from Henley from Wasp Academy. You had done the academy stuff at Wasp, hadn't you? And then we both played under a fucking horrendous head coach. And I don't know how much rugby you played after Henley, but we both went on similar journeys in the health and fitness space, and we both ended up at different places. Well, that was 2009, 2010.
No, it was a bit. Yeah, 2009, 2010. You're right. Yeah. It's a long time ago now.
And that's nearly 15 years later.
Yeah, it's been quite the journey for both of us. I mean, I did play some rugby. I stopped playing 15s. I stopped playing 15s because rugby union 15s in a semi-professional league for me was a lot of sacrifice physically, mentally, and time for very little reward. And so I played 7s instead. So I played like 4 or 5 years of 7s at like a decent standard, like, some of the best invitational teams in the country. And that was amazing because it was sunny where we would play, and it was warm, and it was always fun. So that was like, I will sacrifice a weekend for going and having some beers with my mates and traveling to Alicante or Dubai and playing rugby and just like tearing up. That was a lot of fun.
And you can get into seriously good shape if you don't play 30 games of rugby a season.
Yeah, rugby's really challenging from a physical demand perspective. Like, it's really hard on the body, and if you're it's just very difficult because you're constantly injured to a certain degree. Like, the body's just never recovered. You're knocked, you're bruised, you're in pain, and like I played rugby from when I was like 10, and just you're so used to it, and you're so conditioned to the expectation that you're gonna be sore all the time, to the point where now, when I've because I've had so many injuries from rugby, that was one of the main reasons I stopped. But like ACL, full knee reconstruction, both hamstring tears, AC joint in my shoulder dislocated, ankle. I've had 3 ankle arthroscopies, and so you kind of get desensitized to being injured, to the point where I've got like 2 slip discs in my back as well. No, we won't call them slip discs. They're not slip discs. Technically, it's not a slippage of a disc, is it? It's a bulge. I've got a bulge, and I had crippling sciatic pain for a while, and this is all from rugby. But you kind of just get so numb to being hurt, so numb to being injured, that like now when my fiance Hazel, who's like an active person. She runs marathons and stuff, but she's not from a rugby background. When she gets hurt, I just have like such little sympathy. Cause I'm like, how does it feel? And she's like, yeah, it's really bad. And I'm like, it'll probably heal in like 2 or 3 months, babe. You'll probably be all right. Just go physio. And like, to her, it's a really big deal. But to me, it's like, I know the objectiveness of the process, and that like feeling sorry for yourself, although it's a very natural reaction, you kind of get used to it if you've had it a lot, and then you're like, oh, it doesn't help. Just get on with your day.
Yeah, no,
it doesn't help our relationship. To
No.
be fair, that doesn't help our relationship. I do not advise this to anybody listening. Show some fucking empathy. Show some support. Like, be a nice partner. Trust me. You know, but it's just, you know, my experience is different to her experience, right?
Yeah. No, I had something very similar, and you know what? You hit the nail on the head here with today in this podcast, and where I've taken my podcast in the last 6 to 12 months is actually, we have lots of, I'm known in the strength and conditioning space, but there's lots of boring tactical strength and conditioning podcasts, when actually, like, from a player's perspective, there, you know, you're saying all the opposite to what a strength and conditioning coach would want to hear. Well, then, so you need to do my program. And we're in that space where you would be hurt and you'd just be, well, I'll just fucking get back under 80% and I'll hit my 5 reps before training. And that is not healthy. That doesn't create longevity in an individual, you know?
No, it doesn't. But I guess the problem is fundamentally the discrepancy, the gap between what the coaches want, what the team wants, and what the individual ideally would have. Like, you just hit longevity as an idea. Great concept, love it as a concept. You know, I train for longevity now. The people that I work with are not athletes, they're not team sport athletes, they're Gen Pop individuals, typically working professionals. And we work a lot on longevity as a concept and balancing fatigue and performance. But when you're in a team sport environment, that's a really hard thing to do, especially if you're not in a professional sports team environment, which is, you know, we were at Henley, it was semi-pro. So like there was some money, but like not enough. So yeah, how do you like, how do you balance the individual's need for longevity and the club's need for people to just get on with it?
Yeah, results, winning on a Saturday.
Yeah, because that's a short-term mindset, isn't it?
Yeah. And I remember actually being in, when I was working up at Wasps and end up in the first team and stuff, like, lads their contracts were out at the end of the season, and they like were negligently turning players back out to help training numbers, and like, doesn't matter, he's out of contract, or just we need the bodies, and like the bodies, and like that's commonplace. And that, I guess that's why I'm not in that world from a club perspective anymore, because it is a machine that runs, and it doesn't put health of individuals at the forefront, which is a shame. But it's like any corporate environment. I think that's a misunderstanding as well. Sport is a corporate entity.
Sport is a corporate entity, and like, as you were saying that, I was thinking to myself, like, what's their goal, right? The goal of the club is for the club to be successful, and there will be some people which are so rare, so unique, and so important that they will invest in their long term. You know, like players that are just a cut above the rest. Johnny Wilkinson obviously is a really perfect example of this, but there's the vast majority of players that play in professional sports are not the top 0.1%. They're like, they're good. They're much better than most people, but they're not exceptional. And so the reality is that if you're not exceptional, then you can be replaced. And therefore the value is actually, you're not the value, the club is the value. And so you're just part of the cog of the machine. And I think that's just the reality of the situation. You only get the special treatment if you're if you're special, because it's very expensive, isn't it? Like longevity, doing it all properly, doing everything properly in a really sustainable way. Like that's really expensive. It's cheaper to do it, you know, the way that it is happening.
Oh yeah, I hear you, mate. So from obviously from horrible windy wet Saturdays, were you there when Fozzie made us train on New Year's Day? Were you there then?
Oh my God, I don't know if I was there. I'm not sure I would have done that even if I was there. That's terrible.
He brought us in on New Year's Day, and we were basically, everyone was absolutely smashed off their face still from New Year's Eve.
I bet.
And he flogged us. But he would have driven from Wales.
Yeah, that's so strange.
Mental. So, but anyway, so from there, you did your undergrad? It was undergrad at Simmies, wasn't it? You at St Mary's?
Yeah, St Mary's. Yeah, so I did my strength and conditioning undergrad at St Mary's.
Yeah,
that was when was I doing that? I was doing that while I was at Henley with you.
Yeah.
And then after that, basically started working as a PT, because it was either that or work as a strength and conditioning coach. But back in 2010, 2011, not that much money in S&C. They're really like, I remember looking at it and looking at the career pathways and being like, okay, so I need to go and work for a club for free. I need to go and work for a club for free for an extended period of time. And then if I'm really lucky, they'll give me a job earning 20 grand a year. And I was like, that is just terrible. Like, that's really not much money at all. So I was like, oh, well, I'll go be in PT then. So I just started working as a PT. But that really was a very interesting challenge, because if you study strength and conditioning at university, then you're taught, elite athlete development. And having come from an elite rugby environment, like Wasps were European champions when I was in their academy, and that was like that. They were the best rugby club in Europe, and so it all like aligned, strength and conditioning, with this amazing elite atmosphere and perfectionist mindset. But then you go and try and apply that to your everyday individual that isn't driven to be the best rugby player they can, and you come up against a lot of challenges which are largely psychological. People, everyday athletes, everyday individuals who I was PTing and doing boot camps for and stuff, that want to be fit, healthy, all that sort of stuff. To them, the like very specific details of S&C just do not matter. They just want to be fit and healthy. And it's about like the motivation. And that was like a real challenge to like adapt the concepts that I'd learned for your Gen Pop people. And that was so interesting, because like I remember running a boot camp and being like, right, we're going to do like interval sprints. And the people are like, are you joking? Are you actually joking? And they're like trotting along. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if you don't sprint at 100%, you're not going to get the benefit out of this. Like doing it at 60%, like you might as well just go for a jog. And like, I'm thinking in my head, like, you guys are just not getting the benefit out of this exercise, but they just didn't care. And it was so hilarious in my head that there was this like internal conflict. And I'm trying to like realize what is the reality for your non-elite athlete. It's just funny.
Mate, I love that, because I've come to realize, and for a long time, that the only people that care about principles of S&C are S&C coaches, not even players. Players don't give a shit. And that's why you have this kind of insular, cannibalistic nature of a profession. Like I like from being inside it, it's kind of like a praying mantis will eat its own children, because there's no exit out of the profession. There's no, like, the pathway. It's like, well, you just get a top job and you hope. And you just hope. And you are very contrarian to the people that are listening to this and actually putting light on it. And I think it's wonderful, because you can do other stuff and enjoy coaching, enjoy training. I had the opposite. So when I broke my leg in 2007, I qualified as a personal trainer after that, and then worked my way back to then get a part-time internship at Wasps. And then I kind of slotted in, and I was still making money and then not doing it full time, but then still ended up with 3 jobs, working all full time and, you know, coaching George Smith for 18 grand a year. And it was like, this is bad. Like, this is not fun. And, you know, think of like, what you touch on there is outcome, irrespective of what it takes to get there. No one cares.
Yeah, you're right. That's basically it. It's what does the person actually care about, and that was it was really interesting, because when I was like marketing my PT and my like boot camps and stuff, I was like originally marketing it from an S&C perspective of like, you know, strength and speed and athleticism and coordination and all this shit. And then I realized that no one gives about that. No one cares, right?
Yeah.
Like, people care about the practical application of that stuff to their day-to-day life. And so it's obviously good, and like the coaches that work with me are all really comprehensive, and they've got a very good understanding of like physiology and functional movement patterns, rather than just like you know, gym-based machine work type approach. So we still utilize like an S&C approach, but like the client doesn't really know that. It's more that just the quality of the product is better without them knowing why it's better. That's kind of what it is. That's like, how do you increase the kind of lifetime value of the client that you're working with? It's like, just make the product better and like have a good relationship, so they don't get hurt and they make consistent progress and they enjoy it. And you know, if they've got little niggles and little kind of issues with their shoulder joint or their hip or whatever, that you can kind of help solve that so that you can work around these issues. So you're just like, I guess you're safeguarding yourself, because you know how to deal with these challenges, basically.
Yeah, no, I like it. And there is, because there's lots of I speak to S&C coaches a lot about this, and I used to have this thing about people call me a personal trainer, and actually that is what everyone does. It's just working with people. It's that ego that gets involved. And I actually had someone on the podcast, and I was like, what do you mean? Like, what's the difference between a strength and conditioning coach and a personal trainer? Well, there isn't. Good is good.
Good is good. I guess it's nomenclature, and then it's purpose. So like an S&C is for sports specific adaptations, rather than personal training would be non-sport specific adaptations. That's kind of how I see it, because I used to have the same thing, and I still kind of do have the same thing about personal trainer, or like, what do I even call myself? I just call myself a health coach these days, or like a coach. And I say coach, I think in general, I'm just a coach, like a fitness coach. Because like, I think the idea of like being a personal trainer, where it's what's the standard that you set for yourself and how do you want people to see you? And maybe people, guys, girls listening to this, who are S&C coaches, or maybe they're personal trainers and they want to be an S&C coach, like, how do you see it? Like, I kind of saw it that like the barrier to becoming a PT was so low that I wanted people to know that I had put 3 years of work into getting a degree in strength and conditioning, not a 6-week course as a personal trainer. And so is that really just me being an egotistical, self-centered prick? Probably, but also I did do the work.
Yes, and I think and that's exactly that kind of fear bias that we can get into. And you know, like, not being able to market ourselves well enough for them people to understand that. I've actually done back-to-back podcasts. So the one before that people would have hopefully listened to was on personal branding. And
Interesting.
so personal branding, you're talking about there marketing your boot camps, you're like branding it as Dave the scientist, like, and we do that. And I made a conscious decision that we talked about my book. I wrote my book from the opposite, because it's telling everyone how important the sport is and how important we are, but I can show you how good you can be in that space. So it's the antithesis.
Yeah.
You know, but marketing is, you know, when we talk, it's a in our space, it's a self-reflection.
It is, a lot of the time it's a self-reflection for sure. The health and fitness industry is a bit of a strange one, because you've got like especially in personal training, there's like no benchmark, really.
Yeah.
I mean, like in most professions, there'll be like a couple of really well-developed lead companies that like are the benchmark for success. Like in accounting, for example, you've got like EY or Deloitte, you know, like part of the big four. That everyone kind of goes, right, well, like this is the standard, you know, this is what we kind of work towards. Whereas in health and fitness, we kind of don't really have that as such. We've just got loads of people kind of doing their own thing, doing various different courses. And now with social media, everyone's looking at each other to see what everyone else is doing, and like, what's the thing that I should be doing? What's the thing that people expect I should be doing? And so it's just really complicated, isn't it? It's really hard.
Yeah.
I think it's really hard.
It is very hard. And what you get is you kind of get, I look at it as the water coming down the drain. It is that there's a dilution of quality. The more people try to replicate other people, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And we've both been from, I mean, I think I posted my first YouTube video in like 2006, something like that. I was like cake squatting.
Yeah, really good, man.
And I did, and then I stopped. There's a video of me at uni with a mohawk when I had a hernia, talking about that. But like the online space, because this is actually going to be quite an interesting conversation, because obviously you've created a couple of different versions of your business, haven't you, over the years? And I have good memories of renting out cooking studios.
Yeah,
I have memories of that stuff, and I've always admired everything you've done. I think you've done well, and because I obviously know you personally, playing rugby with you. But talk to me about that journey of kind of like online, the remote coaching space, or using remote coaching online platforms to market you prior to what happened in 2020.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, we'll talk about before.
Yeah, what's that journey like for you? And give people a top line of what you do now as well.
Yeah, for sure. So what I do now is I run a company called Endeavour, and at Endeavour we've got three key services. One is body transformation programming coaching. One is performance coaching, which is kind of like a hybrid athlete style thing, which you guys listening to this might hate that terminology, but like, you know, combining lifting and running, aka just being an athlete. But we'll, you know, for marketing purposes, we're going to call this hybrid coaching. And then we've got a service called Thrive, which is actually sleep coaching, stress management, and habit change, and that's run by a neuroscientist called Bianca. So that's what my company does. We do everything online. We work with people from all around the world. I've got three coaches, and then the neuroscientist, which work with clients, and I coach clients as well. And that's been going for like 4 or 5 years now. Before that, that company was formed, I did online coaching for about 3 years before that. And that was just under like my own name, just, you know, David Birtwistle coaching or whatever it was. And I was a PT before that, kind of working with people one-to-one and whatnot. And it started out doing the boot camps. But the online stuff started 2014, maybe 2015, something like that, because I was posting on Instagram. And at the time, it wasn't particularly like busy, and it was actually, in comparison to today, way easier to get clients. Like it would be so easy back then that I wish I'd have put more effort into it, because it was, if I basically just started talking, like, you know how you see people, if they're like talking about a thing, a exercise, nutrition or whatever, like just giving out information. Literally, if I just did that, within like a couple of posts, people would just inquire naturally off the back of that thing. They're like, oh, this is interesting. And so I just picked up clients, and it was quite nice, and it was quite easy, and it was stable, and you know, it was never massive, but it was really quite easy, working with about 20-25 clients at a time, just giving them one-to-one online coaching from wherever they were, writing programs, giving them nutrition coaching, like weekly video calls and phone calls and stuff, and utilize True Coach. That was the software that some of your listeners probably listen to.
So just for people as well, like that's a sweet spot number. 20 to 25 remote clients is a nice number that allows it still to be low lift. And you can, like pricing is very different these days, but you could do good money off of that just by programs and a little bit of support.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I tried to always like take the personal trainer mindset onto the online space. So developing a connection with the person, right? That's the really important bit. Like, and so having a call, like a Zoom call every week or a phone call every week, like to have the time to talk to someone, to develop a relationship, was really important. And back then I used to charge £100 a month for all of that. And that was 10 years ago. So that was kind of how it started, and that was just, I just priced it at that because that's what someone else who I knew that was doing online coaching was charging.
$2.5 to $3 grand a month, like happy days.
Yeah, it was good, you know, and everything was like quite easy. Now it's way more complicated because social media is way busier, way more complex, way more competition. So yeah, it was very simple. It was very simple back then, and it was just using Instagram.
Yeah, and so I think like it's quite it's very interesting to see. Like, I mean, I came up like he's a friend now, like Zach Kevanish on YouTube, and I'll be watching him and emailing him as an individual and bits, and that was all YouTube, newsletter. Like that was it, and product on the back end, and it was really simple, and it was like, I love that. And then, you know, the short form side of things is social, like this thing fucking Facebook shows up, and then Instagram. And have you seen the movie with Vince Vaughn and Woody Harrelson when they do like the internship?
Yeah, at Google.
And it's like, let's take a picture and let's put it on the cloud. Let's put it on the
line. Like on the line. Is that online? Right? On the line.
And we could be out taking photos of the thing that we can do, and we're going to share it with everyone, and people will love it. It's like, and that's what it was, wasn't it? And so us, like this, you know, this thing comes up, and like if like you said, if I don't think I'd have ended up in pro sport if I'd kept just plugging away, but no one showed me the way. There was no like, do this, because this is how you do business. This is how you can create a business rather than a service. So, you know, all that stuff happens, and then we get to January 2019, everyone's avoiding Chinatown in London, thinking this virus is breaking out. 28 days later, it gets binge watched.
Great film.
And then, it was a great film. And then we go full lockdown. Like from a business, like This from a business point of view, what happened, and then how did that merge with you personally?
Well, I don't really know. I was kind of in the same situation as everyone else. What was going on was just going into lockdown. Business was not too affected, to be honest, because I was already working remotely with people. It was just a case of like very quickly trying to adapt to our people. Do people still have equipment? Are they working at home?
Yeah.
Are they training at home? Like, are we just doing body weight stuff now? Like, what do people need? So it's just a very quick like adjustment to the reality of everyone else's life. But because we were already doing online coaching, it meant that it wasn't too badly affected. It was just that nervousness where everyone's wondering, am I getting fired? Am I getting, is my job still going to be there? Like all of that uncertainty. But because of the online stuff. But then every PT in there that had access to a phone did live workouts on Instagram, didn't they? And every PT was like, oh shit, if I can't get to the gym, I can't make money. So I'm now an online coach. And so everyone was like, I'm going to make a program. I've just made the best program ever. And like everyone did the exact same thing at the exact same time. And if a PT hadn't thought about being an online coach before then, they sure as hell did immediately. And so then there was this like almost from that point onwards, like a gold rush of who wants to be an online coach. And everyone really pushed it for years, didn't they? Like 3 years, 4 years, there was like this real push. And are we going back to the gym ever? And can we be in the same space as everyone else? And, there's real concerns for everyone in the space because everyone realized, oh God, like what's the longevity in this position? Am I ever going to have a job again? So people pivoted really quickly, understandably so. So yeah, that all kind of happened around me as well. But I had sort of done something a little bit sneaky about a year before that and was just waiting for it to materialize. And this is where everyone in your podcast goes, oh, fuck this guy. Because I basically, I'd been on Instagram for a little bit and Instagram was still relatively young at the time. And I was like, oh, Instagram's a great way of getting clients. It's a great marketing strategy for my business. And then I ended up going on a TV show. And it was called Too Hot to Handle. It came out on Netflix, literally April, I think, 2020. And was like this huge hit. And it was, it's a cheesy dating show, reality dating show. But it was really good and people loved it. And like, I didn't do anything dumb and people liked me off the show and my social media exploded. It went from like 25,000, I had about 25,000 followers already, but then it grew to like 1.3 million at its peak during lockdown. And it's like subsequently fallen since then, like quite a lot, because I don't post anything about dating. Like my content's all fitness content. And so all these people that are like, oh, this guy off that TV show. And then I like post nothing relevant to what they're interested in and just talk about fitness and training and nutrition. And so understandably, like the audience demographics change a lot over time.
Yeah.
But like the show, the idea behind it was, go on a show. If it's good, then you'll get loads of eyes on you. And what is the number one rule of marketing? It's get people to look at you. Just get people's attention. And that it worked really, really well. But the really interesting thing was the business, although I'd like put a lot of effort into creating Endeavour, because that was the purpose of creating Endeavour originally, to go from David Birtwistle coaching to an actual company, was I was like, right, well, if this is going to be a hit, then I want to have it looking professional and like have a proper setup. So I was like, right, well, I'll make Endeavour. And but I'd set it up based on the expected volume of a couple of leads, couple of calls. And then the first time we like kind of announced the launch of it, and I was doing the calls myself. I was literally like, I was taking the sales calls as like any person would. Most of the people that are listening don't have a sales team, right? They just do the calls themselves. And like I was taking these calls and it was like weeks of calls booked, and it's all just people wasting my fucking time because they just want to talk to the guy that was on the telly. it was shit.
So good.
It was so shit. Like it was such a waste of time. And I like after the first few calls, and it's just people fanning, and like obviously it's very sweet, and you know you've got to love, and I'm a big fan of people just being nice, which is great. But it wasn't what it was for. It was a waste of my business time. And so really quickly I had to kind of pivot to a different sales strategy, and there was a big learning effect from that. And it was good, but only once I got the sales funnels in place properly, right? So only at the point where I could, I'd matched the process with the volume, and got the marketing right, and got the team right, and got the support right. Only at that point did I actually start to properly monetize and get clients. Because when the system is faulty, then it doesn't work, right? And that's the thing that was a real wake-up call for me. It was like, even after the show was huge, and I had all of these people like coming in as like prospective clients or leads or whatever, because most of them are completely unqualified, it was just like a really inefficient process. And so it wasn't until I like got a sales team and got kind of a script, and had like the right landing page with the right video and the right process and the right like offer and the right systems of delivering the service, only at that point did it start to make financial sense. And that was really interesting, because the ignorant naive individual that I was just thought, oh well, if I get loads of followers and I'll make loads of money, because people will just click the link in my bio, and no one clicks the fucking link in your bio. No one cares. It might as well not be there, right? Like it just doesn't work. And I thought, oh, this is just money is just gonna come my way, because that's the shit that people talk about, but just isn't the reality. Like exposure is obviously fantastic, and it is very, very important if you want a business, but the sales process is by far the single most important part of making money.
Yeah, mate, that's so good. Like the so I obviously I know when that happened. I remember because it was that came out and Tiger King.
Yeah,
those were the two shows that came out, and I watched Tiger King. I didn't watch you, but I remember I messaged you. Because I was watching your followers. I was like, fucking hell, go on, Bertie. And I remember messaging you going, I hope you've got a plan for this. And you were just like, yep. Yes, I do. And I thought it was genius. I thought, fair fucking play. And they're so good. And but it's just funny, like the consequence of that amount of eyeballs. And I've evolved my podcast just talking about X and O's of training to mirror my life of being in my own business for over 10 years and all those sorts of things. And business is a big part of it, where if you're just trying to get one client a month, you just say, give me your phone number, I'll call you at this time and we'll have a chat. Like, that's fine. If you've got an inbound of what I can only imagine was just
it was
unbelievable. It needs to be robust, like a good training program.
Yeah.
It needs to be robust.
Definitely.
And go on, sorry.
I was just going to say, like, for kind of context for people listening of like how it kind of went. It was like before the show, like I would get like 1 or 2 leads a month, and like you've just described, the lead would come in. I would personally be like, oh, cool lead, call them up. Hey Sarah, it's David. How's you going? You've mentioned this, like blah blah blah. Talk them through the thing, talk them through it all, and be like, do you wanna sign up? And they'd be like, yeah, cool, that sounds good. And then I remember like I did this a call to action on Instagram, which is basically I put up a series of stories, and then was like, if anyone's interested, like just DM me. And I had at this point I had a team of like 5 people, right, like basically managing my inbox on Instagram to like handle leads, but it still wasn't enough because we got like 1,400 qualified leads in 2 days. And so these people just couldn't keep up with the volume. And I remember talking to the guy, the manager, the sales manager on this. I mean, this was like completely ridiculous. Like we just never had this response ever before. Like it was just
so good.
it was so erroneous and like wild. And I remember being really pissed off with the sales manager because I was like, we'd taken £60,000, £55,000 in 1 month from this thing, right? And I did the numbers and I was like, mate, there's so much more money on the table. Your team have fucked up because there's so much more money that you could have made this month. There's so many more people that we could have helped and could have supported. And he was like, we could not answer the requests. We couldn't get back to everyone, like just too many people. And so that's the point of like your system has to match the volume and the requirements. And if it doesn't, then it's not going to work. And so even though you know people listening might be like, well, that's a lot of money in a month, I'm like, yeah, it was. And I was like ecstatic that I'd made that much money, but I was also pissed off because we probably could have done double had the team been bigger. But then this is the problem with social media, you never quite know how something's going to land, what sort of response you're going to get. And so managing that with like leads can be quite challenging because you might have, especially when you're trying to provide a personalized service. And that's always what I've done, is provide a very personalized service. So it's always an interaction between people. It's not a click this link and sign up for this program. It's like booking people into calls, having conversations, you know, consultations, needs analysis, all this sort of stuff. So yeah, that's just someone hope maybe you guys listening might find that interesting.
No,
it's
really
random.
Because it's the scenario that everyone wished that they would have. It's like, oh, I want 1,400 qualified leads in my inbox. No, you don't. No, you don't.
Only if
you want that over
them.
the next 5 years. Give me 5 years, and we'll turn that into £1 million. You know, sales in 5 years. Like I only had, and it's not to that scale. A, I wasn't on a TV show, but B, I launched my first coach education offering. And the back end of COVID, and I had 200 leads that I had to service in 7 days myself, and was doing a 2-call close. So I'd speak to everyone first, and I got so sick. Like we banked 20k off of that, and that program has now been running for 6 years. So it started 2018, 2019. And is still now running in a capacity of a mastermind group. But that was horrendous. So I can only imagine the stress. Like I got really sick off of that. Like it wasn't fun. But what you say there, it's perfect because it's the system that allows things to function. And if you want to provide a personal service, build a relationship with an individual, you can't do that at high volume because there's only one of you.
Yeah, exactly. And the strategy, the approach, the system like you've described has changed over the years for me. Like now we use a 2-call strategy, a 2-call close, and that's really good. We'll have like a initial conversation that's just like messaging, and then there'll be like a video and a landing page for people to check out all the information. Then there'll be the first consultation call. Then we put together a strategy for the individual to show them on a second call, like how will help them achieve their goals, and then talk them through the membership stuff and sign them up and get started on that. And like that's a really comprehensive process because it is supposed to be there to show the person that like the way that we do things is personal, it's individual, and we don't cut corners and stuff. So, but then that takes a lot of time. And I used to do this 2-call strategy, you know, myself. I only hired my first actual salesperson to do the calls last year. The first like until June last year, I was doing every single sales call myself, and that's like super draining. It's very hard.
Amping yourself up for every call. And do you think that's because there's a lot of elements in that where, you know, we're not necessarily trying to force money, but we know that we have to keep the lights on. Like, there is churn. You do lose clients. It's inevitable. Like, you do lose it. So you're constantly, not necessarily on a hamster wheel, but like you're playing out in the future that, you know, I've got a minimum number I need. I have a minimum threshold that I need to support my life. And so it goes up and down.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it really does go up and down. And that's like part and parcel of it, because with the type of coaching that I provide, it's somewhat seasonal in that, like, any sort of weight loss or body transformation focus, which is the main way that the company makes money. It's the biggest earner. You know, there's certain times of the year when people are interested in this, and there's certain times of the year when they're not. But there's two ways that we can help to manage this. One's either to increase the lifetime value of the customer. So, like, not just the value actually, but the duration of time in which you work with someone. So the longer that period is, then the less volatile the client base is going to be. And I've learned this the hard way, because, you know, the first thing I was selling after the show came out was 12-week body transformations. And although we could deliver a fairly good service, it meant that every 3 months I needed all new clients, basically. And so it's this really fast hamster wheel that caused me loads of stress. Whereas now we have a very different model where it's it's an initial 90-day investment that people work for us for a minimum of 90 days, but then it's already set up that if they want to continue, they can. And so now our kind of average client is with us for 9.5 months. And
That's
so that
awesome.
gives us more stability, because it's designed for longevity, not just short-term quick fixes. So that's the first thing. And then what was the other thing we were talking about? You make the service better so they stick around for longer. And God, what was my other point? I've just gone blank, mate. What was the problem we were talking about? We were talking about the volatility.
So the personal elements of it as well.
Yeah, I was trying to think of what were the other things, like to kind of stabilize the business, so you're not kind of always searching for new people. It was having a subscription model really helps, and increasing the quality of the service so that people stick around longer. That was it. I basically put the two things in the same answer. But having a subscription model really helps. You don't want someone to pay for something. You don't want to ask someone to pay for something twice, and then you want the service to be so good that they never leave. And that hopefully elongates it, and so you're not as much on the hamster wheel. It's better for everyone, right? Like, it's better for the customer as well. The customer gets a better service when they have a longer relationship with a coach, because then the coach knows them better and can really fine tune things, and they know their history, and they can just think of solutions off the top of their head. The first 3 months you're working with a new client, and it is always, you're just like really figuring things out, aren't you? There's a lot of understanding, and understanding their history, understanding the person, understanding the nuances of how they like to train or how they like to work, or the challenges they face in their day-to-day life, like what their stress is like at work, or how they sleep, or what's their relationship like with a partner, and all this sort of stuff that impacts how they're going to be with you. And that all happens initially. So if you can get over that, and that's a really big focus with us at Endeavour, is trying to make the first 90 days as good as we can possibly do it, so that the friction, the experience the client has, is as smooth as possible and as low friction, so that they get into it, they build the habits, they get the quick wins, and then they build that relationship with the coach, meaning that then they're like, yeah, this is good. Like, this is now my fitness solution. I'm going to be strong. I'm going to be fit. I'm going to be healthy. I'm not going to be in pain, all this sort of stuff. And that helps. That helped so much, because I can tell you, it was fucking stressful when every 3 months I'm trying to find 100, 150 new clients. Like, it is just, it's so tiring. It's so tiring.
And it's kind of like it's not why there's limited satisfaction in that as well, because you don't get to go on the journey. And that, from my experience during the pandemic and post-pandemic for remote coaching and consulting is very different, because there were so many bridges burnt, so many burnt people through terrible offers, through poor business practice, through like just those big fucking fishing nets of just churning and burning. And especially in like the sports space, it was kind of like every coach that had been put on furlough that worked in a professional team became an online coach for the 9 months that they weren't working but on furlough, and that was it. So then they went back to work then after that. And then how do you the maintenance of trust is gone there. And it kind of that you have to for there's a lot of re-education of the consumer, of the end user, of what to expect from a program working with an individual, and how do you maintain that connection. When COVID came, there were guys doing Zoom calls, coaches getting 200 people sat on at $20 a pop, because no one had anything else to do. Now people are trying to sell £500 courses, but everyone's back to work. No one's got time to sit through 12 hours of fucking lectures.
It's a very different marketplace now. I was literally reflecting on this yesterday about how different the space is these days compared to pre-COVID. It's very saturated. Like the online health and fitness space is very, very saturated, and there's been lots of people that have put their trust in other coaches and been burnt by poor offers and poor service. People not doing it with the quality in mind. And the hard thing is that for the user, it's very hard to distinguish between who is good and who isn't good, and what is going to be a really good quality service and what's worth the investment. And like on the sales call you're having with a client or a potential client, it gets to the point where you go like, right, well, if you want to work with me, it's going to cost this much. And then the customer needs to make a decision about whether they trust you enough to invest their money into you. And for some people who haven't been burned, that'll be easier to gain. But for people that have been burned, it's going to be much harder. And it is tricky, because the reason I found doing so many sales calls so hard is that when you get to that moment with someone and that if they just did it and they did the thing that you have mapped out, the strategy, that they would really benefit, that they would get a lot out of it. Like, I know that me and my team can solve people's problems. We do it day in, day out when it comes to weight loss, when it comes to improving relationship with food, running. Like, we've got a partnership with Runner, which is coincidentally wearing this hoodie because I was coming from the gym. Nice. But so like running, building strength, helping people sleep better, like we have this stuff on lock. But the people that have never used our service don't know this. And there's a certain distrust with people online because of everything you've said a minute ago. With people getting burnt
cowboys.
in the past, the cowboys, and there not being any like differentiation. Like, how would a customer know if you're good or if you're not good? And that's where like constantly putting out high value content is like really, really important. And the sales process is really important. Like building trust through that process, not being sleazy, not trying to just sell, but trying to give value. Like, but then that's really hard. And there's a lot of people that do that. And if you are trying to do an online business these days in the health and fitness space, how do you stand out? You stand out either by being in ridiculous shape and male or female, and or you stand out for like what you say and your opinions and how you verbalize them. And these days, more than ever before, it's the people that talk really well, that can articulate themselves, that grow the most.
Rather
James
than
Smith
the
was
ones,
the first one.
I'd say rather than the ones that are just on the peptides at the moment.
Like, there's obviously some, like, Sam Sulek's obviously the biggest fitness influencer in the world, and he's grown in a really interesting way, but he's a massive bodybuilder. And C-Bum, that obviously amazing, like in incredible shape. Like, I'm not throwing shade, but like the standard that your physique has to be at to stand out on Instagram these days is so outrageously high. It's like madness. And you might have seen this meme, Sam, like you might have seen it where it's like, it's a video of Spider-Man and Wolverine from like 2000 or whatever, and it's like literal superheroes from when I was a kid, and it's like Wolverine, and he's like, he's to today's standard, he's not really in that good shape, and you've got Spider-Man, he's like checking himself out in the mirror, and he must weigh like 65 kilos or something, right? And we're there as kids watching this being like, oh my god, that's so amazing. And now the kids are watching Chris Bumstead and Sam Sulek and all these other juice heads that, you know, again, I'm not throwing shade on people that use steroids. It's not my thing. It's not the thing that like my kind of coaching methodologies are built on. They work really, really well. Like, we're not debating that. But the standard is like so outrageously high. And that is very hard. So how are you going to stand out? Most people stand out by what they say. But the problem with it is that health and fitness isn't particularly evolving. Like the fact is the fact, like the information is there. You know, it's not much like big stuff that's changed in 30 years, is there? Like if you get strong, it's like the same shit that gets you strong as what got you strong 30, 40 years ago. Not much has changed. The same with what gets you lean. There's a bit more balance in that these days rather than the extreme stuff that used to be the case. But
fish and a rice cake.
Yeah. But so that's the hard thing, right? Like, how do you stand out? And I think that it is really hard. It comes down to your personality, and you have to have obviously got good information, but how you then tell the story about the fitness stuff and the nutrition stuff and the training stuff. And then that's what people will resonate with. Because at the end of the day, if you can't differentiate on product, which is basically what we cannot do. I mean, obviously you and I have different products with our businesses, but someone that was competing against me that was selling weight loss, let's say, we can't really differentiate too much on product. We can differentiate on the story, on the brand. And when it comes to social media, the brand is your story. And I think that was something which took me a long time to really understand, and what most PTs don't really do very well. But the ones that do it well, grow a lot, is that they leverage the uniqueness of their personal journey, their personal story. And they talk about that and relate the story to the subject matter so that people can connect with it. And that's the thing which is, I think, really the only way to stand out these days.
You do it really well. You do it really well. It's why you ended up in my feed a lot more over the last 6 months or so. I was like, these videos are really good.
Thanks, mate. Thanks, man. I made a big shift. I made a big shift to doing exactly what I've just talked about. And that's only because of my fiance. I can't believe she's getting so many mentions in this podcast. But if you guys just actually, whoever is this, so her name's Hazel Wallace. Maybe you guys know her as the Food Medic on Instagram. She's got like 1 million followers that she's grown organically, unlike me that went on a dumb dating show. And her content is like female health. She was a doctor with the NHS. She's now a nutritionist. She's written 4 books, and she's amazing at social media content. And it's the reason that my content comes up in your feed more is because she helped me start telling my story through social media. Because up until then, I was just like some dumb rugby player that was like, oh, if they want to know how to squat, this is how you squat, you know? But then now it's changed to, I used to not be able to squat, and now I can squat, and this is something that's helped me to do that. And it's telling the story of the information, and that's the thing which is really game changing.
She feeds you well as well, which is always a positive.
She feeds me very well.
I actually saw her speak. I told you about a former girlfriend of mine. We actually saw her. This was years ago. This was 2013, I think. Saw her speak at a nutrition event, and she was very good. She was very good, knowledgeable, very knowledgeable. And that, like, literally, what you spoke about there is it all makes sense to me. So that's it. But lastly, we're just coming up on time. I know you've made a recent shift and you've gone back to school, and it's first before what you just spoke about is absolute fucking gold. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And then like I always often talk, and we started at the beginning, well, actually, what's the harm in saying, I'm not going to do this forever? Well, I may do something else. I may have there's no ending. There's just new beginnings in a lot of things. And I saw that you'd gone back to school. I thought it was amazing. And I just want you to talk about that for a couple of minutes, because there's lots of coaches that do end up getting stuck, or,
Yeah.
you know, I ended up in this fucking job by accident. Like, if my dream job is building tree houses, like one day I may do that.
I
Like,
love
'cause
that. That's so cool.
like, that is my thing. I renovated a boat a few years ago, but that's something that just didn't happen. Rugby player, lift weights, run fast, it does itself, right? So how are you finding that? And then what was that push, and any take-home messages that you can give just before we wrap up?
I love your sentiment. There's no ends, just new beginnings. That's a really lovely way of phrasing it. Because I've always, throughout my journey in fitness, always thought to myself, like, what am I going to do when I'm 40? What am I going to do when I'm 50? What am I going to do when I'm 60? I can't be on the gym floor. I mean, some people can. I don't want to. So that's always what's been the driving force behind the decisions. The driving force behind the decision to go online was it has more longevity. The driving force to go on the dating show was to get exposure for the online stuff, for the longevity component. And now I've gone to university. I basically saved up because I've been working as a PT on the side of doing this. I had like a couple of clients, and I basically saved all of my PT money for the last 3 years. And I've gone to Imperial College Business School to do their Masters in Business Administration, so an MBA at Imperial. And that's like a really huge investment financially and time and effort.
Yeah.
But that's because what is after? You know, what's the next step in life going to be? And I really enjoy the business side of my company, and I want to learn more about it and go on to something else in the future. I don't know exactly what it's going to be. It might well still be within health and fitness, but it was a big decision because it's, my life savings basically paid to to an institution to learn, and a big investment into myself. And it's really hard because, like, today I was literally learning about accounting, international accounting standards, and that is not something I've got any experience in. So it's really humbling, really humbling to be in that position. But my belief is of around like a growth mindset is that, like, you can, how do I phrase this? You're only limited by what you believe you can or can't do. So if you tell yourself I can do this thing, and then you put in the work and you go through the steps, then you're more likely to be able to achieve it than if you doubt yourself in the first place. So, like, the university stuff has got a lot of people messaging me saying, wow, like, I never even thought about this. It's quite daunting. Like, a lot of people think there's maybe some stigma attached to going to university in your 30s. And I can tell you, it's way better going in your 30s than your 20s, because I'm not drunk. Like, when I went to university the first time, I was playing rugby or going out to McCluskey's and Infernos and clubs in the middle of the week and stuff, and like getting pissed and all that. And so it's a very different experience doing it in your 30s, and much, much more beneficial. So if anyone is thinking about doing some further learning and like changing career path, it's way more common than you think. Loads and loads of people do it. It's really natural. Gone are the days of you go to university, you get a job, you stay on the same job for life, and then you retire. That's not how our world is set up anymore. There's so many more opportunities that are ready to be taken. You just have to know what you're trying to work towards. And for me, it is that I'm working towards better financial security for me and my family, and bigger opportunities to present themselves as I go through. And I feel like a better education and better connections will open up those opportunities. So I've got 2 years of studying ahead, and then I'll be David Birtwistle, BSc, BEng, MBA.
There we go. Love it. So for everyone listening, just before we wrap up, where's the best place to, probably Instagram, to just connect with you?
Yeah, if you guys want to hurl abuse at me for being a PT that went on a PT show, on a dating show, then you can find me on Instagram, David.Birtwistle. That's the best place. I post stuff, a little bit of stuff on the university thing now, but actually it's primarily health and fitness. So you might find some information that's interesting.
It's a good account. I like it. It's good. So thanks for your time, mate. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it as well.